See, look, it's sideways.
How
does it look?
That just means that the comments are sideways.
Yeah.
It doesn't really affect
how does it look on there?
I'm sorry.
Oh, no.
Okay, here we go. No, it's not.
You're sideways.
So?
Yeah, but turn it sideways. Is it going to...
What do you mean? Like turn it normal like this?
Yeah, see, I don't like that.
Why not?
I don't know.
We're not the ones holding our phone this way. They will.
No, but if they're watching it on a regular TV, it'll be sideways. Won't they?
Yeah, but I think this looks cooler.
Okay, there's people on. Tell me what you think.
There's one person on, which is literally just me.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I just saw these.
That just says request to join. Now we have somebody. Hi.
Okay, so what? Does it look weird sideways?
Dominique, let us know if it looks sideways, if it looks weird on live right now.
Or should we turn it the other way?
Yeah, should we turn it back to horizontal, or is... All right, we have 2 people on right now. Let us know if it looks weird in the comments, because we will rotate it back, but I think so far it looks fine.
Okay.
Alrighty, you guys ready for 90s Day? I am a 90s baby, 1999, but I still experienced literally everything in the 90s because my parents were a little bit older, so they gave me everything that happened in the last 10 years to the first year of my life, honestly.
Hello. So we got 2 people on Facebook.
And we have 4 people on Instagram.
4 people. Now, those of you on Instagram, please tell us if it looks weird. We're trying it sideways, and I know that on the phone it shows sideways, but tell me if it looks weird to you guys. So, anyways, it's the 90s show.
Yes.
And she is a 90s baby.
I'm
99. So, you like my hat today?
I love it. It's giving,
See,
honestly.
I think we should bring these back.
Yeah.
I think we should bring them in.
Because if you don't know what that is a steering wheel cover.
It is. There's one right here.
But it is also it's a big head, but it covers your steering wheel, and then it also holds your drinks. It's
Holds
not
your drinks?
Yeah, like you can fit like a little bowl of chips in it.
Oh,
I think
yeah,
that's what
yeah.
it's for.
So anyways, this is for your steering wheel what does that say?
See, somebody said they like it sideways.
Okay,
awesome.
perfect. So, it spreads it out and you can see everything.
more, yeah, instead of it being like this big.
We are here in the area that we're going to have as a show area, which is kind of cool. And we've got all this up here, which is all 90s related. I'm not going to leave my big floppy hat. Look at this, my big floppy hat.
You should leave it on.
Look. Hi. My big floppy hat. So anyways, as you can see, isn't that cool? Isn't that hilarious? I love it. The big floppy hat.
Got like my little nerd beanie.
You know, that's like a 20s style.
Is it really?
Yeah. It's fun.
I like it.
how it makes your hair look.
Yeah, it like poofs it out in the back.
Anyways, these are 90s, 1994. These are big. You could take them to the beach and cover your steering wheel with one part and then have the flotation for the second part.
Exactly.
Right? So as you can see, there's a flotation device on the inside. But look at the graphics. That's what I love about it.
Yeah.
Does this not scream 90s?
No, it for sure does. The little scribbles, the paint
Right.
splatter, the Aztec. It's giving 90s for sure.
It's so cool. So this is it. I'm going to show you guys. Look at that. Isn't that the coolest thing?
And,
Somebody's
speaking
saying
of...
something over here. No?
No, I think that's just a notification.
Notification?
In general.
Okay, so if you see me do this, it's because I can't. I'm reading it sideways over there. So, 90s outfit. It was all about grunge, was it not?
Honestly.
It was all about grunge. There was grunge.
Baggy clothes, repping your favorite music artist. But
right?
we don't have a music artist on here, but I know you know who this is. This was everybody's crush at one point or another. Yeah, it's a panda.
It was. So we have surrounded ourselves with 90s everything.
Memorabilia.
Which is interesting. She calls herself a 90s baby in 1999. So, but it is because,
and I experienced
90s, 2000
everything.
is usually kind of the previous,
yeah.
Zero.
And I know that some of our viewers are going to remember this. Let me know in the comments if you guys remember Legends of the Hidden Temple that came out in 1995. I still have watched every episode to this day.
So I got to tell you, I'm a 70s baby, so by the 90s, I was in my 20s and off doing other things. So a lot of these toys and that's why I'm so happy you're here. I was beyond that.
And I'm super excited because a lot of this stuff is super nostalgic to me. I haven't seen this since I was like a child. I'm really excited for the show today. We have a lot of cool stuff with us.
We do, and we're going to hit a couple of sections because we could go on and on about the 90s. The 80s and the 90s were the decades of decadence and buying and everything. And we're going to talk about new artists, new movies, new different things that came out in the 90s. And then We're going to talk about those from the 60s, 70s, and 80s that actually were as prevalent in the 90s as they were during every decade prior.
And then after that, we're going to hit the scandalous stuff. And I'm not even going to go into detail. We're going to hit the scandalous stuff that happened in the 90s.
We're not going to get deep into Beanie Babies, though.
No, that's, since we don't really carry Beanie Babies here,
Yeah,
that's not really going to be one of our topics today. But feel free to ask us any questions if possible.
Yes.
I'm also going to be switching back and forth to Instagram because I see we have a question here. So I'm just going to switch back over to there really quick just to see
On
what's
Facebook?
up. Yeah.
So it's probably...
It looks like it's a long question, too.
Anyways, as she's bringing that up to look, some of the things that started in the 1990s that we forgot about.
Aw.
Oh, 99.99.
That's amazing.
How does that? That is cool.
Yeah, that is
When's
cool.
your birthday? 99.99.
That's lit.
I love that. Lisa Anderson. Well, hello. Oh, you're talking to each other. I see. Okay. So, yes, it's been. Oh, the hat. I know. Isn't that hilarious? So the 90s was an amalgamation of everything coming together at once, along with the generation after me becoming of age, and then the new generation. So I'm Generation Z or Generation X.
I'm Z, I think.
You're Z, so 90s, and then there was after that. No, you might be
Millennial.
a millennial. You might because you graduated after.
Yeah, because I graduated.
So you're a millennial.
Ugh.
Okay, so she's a millennial, but right on the cusp, and then of course there's X, I think, or Z afterwards.
Honestly, they all sound horrible, to be honest.
They do. So some of the big things that happened during the 90s.
This guy right here,
Oh, who hated those?
Nakamichi,
Now, this is not the
the Tamagotchi.
Tamagotchi. This is the second hand.
You got one of these if you were bad in school and you wanted a Tamagotchi, and your mom said no because you were bad, so you got a Nakamichi.
Yes, but they did the same things. It was just, and I don't have a
Oops, sorry.
Tamagotchi here.
I'm trying to get it
No,
like
no,
not
you're
in your
fine.
face.
I don't have a Tamagotchi on hand. So,
But you guys remember if you forgot about this thing for 5 hours, it would die.
wait, what does that say? Somebody's trying to get on it.
It's Steve.
Oh, okay. So the Tamagotchi, these things were annoying because how many times did you end up having to just say turn it off?
Yeah,
because it was always hungry.
It literally 2 out of the 3 bubbles on here are negative. I feel sick and feed me.
Yes, and this was a way that people thought, the mass society thought, it was a good way
To teach kids responsibility.
kids responsibility. Not when you can just take the kid off your keychain
And
and
throw it.
away.
Exactly.
So, which is hilarious. So, and the one thing that I'm going to talk about the 90s is something that pertains directly to myself and
Okay.
Steve and Time Warp.
Oh.
And that is eBay came to play. So 1995, eBay created their online selling platform, which changed the way the world shopped.
Online, for sure.
It changed the way the world shopped. And those of you, this is one of our things that we got from 2005. Isn't that hilarious? So it's a power seller thing. We've been with eBay for, I don't know, since 2000, since 98, I don't know. So they don't even do this anymore. But eBay changed everything. It made people identify the items they have. They made people,
Can you see him?
yeah. So they made people know what they had. As soon as they realized what eBay was for, they jumped on and said, "Ooh, what's this worth? Ooh, what's this worth?" And eBay started out slow. And you know what I mean? It had to catch on.
Yeah.
And then by 2000, it was just like crazy. Actually, 98, there were people I knew that were selling.
I just have to read this on here
Go
that
ahead.
I wrote to you. In recognition of outstanding achievements, M.I. Rummager is hereby welcome to the community of eBay power sellers. In appreciation of your consistent performance at the highest levels, professionalism in business transactions, and demonstrations of eBay community values, we are pleased to present to you the Certificate of Achievement for your continued contributions.
And that's hilarious because eBay does not do anything like that anymore, and you police all your own stuff.
They literally have so much money, they're like, we don't care.
Yeah, pretty much. Isn't that hilarious? We got a lot of people coming on. I love it. So eBay not only changed the way we shopped online, but it also changed the way we sell stuff.
Steve, what was it? Do you
What?
remember exactly which one it was?
What? The first items on eBay were Pez dispenser, footless or with feet.
Yeah, yeah.
So they were the older ones, I'm sure. But I'm going to tell you, one of the things that we first sold on eBay were a pair of Jordan number ones.
No way. That's honestly so lit.
So I think it was Jordan number ones, right, Steve? That we sold in 2005, I think it was, or 2001. Anyways, before they blew up and were worth more than my house. But Steve had stumbled across a lot of Jordan armbands,
like
t-shirts, sweatbands, stuff like that, and a pair of Jordan 1s. So we put them online, and we were thrilled with what we got then, and it was under $1,000. Because today they're like 30, 40,000.
Yeah.
And but the armbands, they lasted us forever because there were so many of them.
Yeah.
So that was one of our big things that we sold on eBay was a pair of Jordan 1s, which, you know what, to this day I kind of wish we would have kept because they would have paid probably for our
But
house.
like Jason and I were just talking earlier, like growing up being, even though I was, like I said, 1999 babies, I still had so many of these toys. If I would have known then what I know now, I would have thrown away half the stuff that I had. You know what I'm saying?
And you know, there's good sides to eBay, there's bad sides to eBay. And what eBay did was create not only a world where shopping became easy and at your fingertips, but it also put a sense of beware over items.
Sure.
Because it allowed people to
Scam.
not just scam, but overvalue things.
Sure.
Because a lot of people think that with eBay, and it went all the way back because of the auction value. So if you don't know the full price, you put it on the low price, and then people bid it up. That's how you know, right? So, but then you can put it on, and you don't have to put it on auction. You can put it on regular in your store if you have a store with them. But it's what you put on. So it gives people a false idea of what things are worth. And that's the bad part of eBay, because I can put this little toy on eBay and put $1 million on it. We call that trolling for chunks, because something like this is not worth that.
Right.
And if you see it, sometimes it's due to, if you see like a Beanie Baby that sold for $50,000, it's not going to be the Beanie Baby is worth $50,000. It's going to be a charity or money laundering.
Exactly. And then nothing's going to be legitimate at that point.
The program had a long weekend. What is he saying?
A programmer had a long weekend. His wife asked him to write a program for her and her group to buy and sell Pez. And he also said those shoes sold for $650 and went to Japan, and now they're worth $25,000.
Yes. So eBay started in 1995. It was fantastic on shopping. It gave a false sense of expectation for what things were worth. Still to this day does. So a little hint: when you're looking at things on eBay that you have, look under the sold items.
Yes.
Do not look under what people are asking, because people are asking based on sentimental value, which
What
a
they've
sentimental
seen.
value can be worth $1 million to somebody when
Honestly.
the actual piece is only worth like $10.
$10.
You know what I mean?
I like eBay because if any of our viewers are close to me, my mom, when I was 2 years old, so like 2002, bought me a Powerpuff Girl stuffed animal. I used eBay within the last year and a half to research that stuffed animal.
Right.
And I found it brand new in the box and everything. And I bought it off eBay for $40, and my brain couldn't, figure out why this looked so familiar, because I had the old beat up stuffed animal that's
Right.
24 years old.
Right.
And eBay came in clutch and had a brand new one.
But I'm going to tell you, I'm thankful for eBay.
Oh, yeah.
Because eBay spawned such things as Etsy, Amazon a little bit. They used a little bit of that, but eBay was very strict on their
Selling
how they
policy.
Well, no, to their behind the scenes, like how they do the auctions and stuff. They had
Yes.
gotten that. So anyways, eBay.
Yeah.
1995
eBay's
changed the
cool.
world of shopping.
Honestly.
So, like I said, 1980s and 1990s, they were the years that changed the world to what we know now.
Which is honestly, now think about if we didn't have eBay and how many other resources of buying and selling online we wouldn't have.
True, but I think that things are meant to happen, and so somebody would have invented something
At
similar
some
to
point.
that at some point. But so that's eBay. eBay was a big one, and this entire world that we stand in, for some people, derive directly from eBay.
Honestly, and there's a lot of cool things, and then you see a lot of weird things on eBay, but overall I think it's a really great site, and they should do more things like that, because I feel like it would entice more people to actually
It would, and they might do different things, but we've sold on eBay for so long, and we have such a high amount. Our store has thousands of things in it on eBay.
Right.
We're an anchor store, so we're like, your like, if you go to the mall, consider eBay like a mall.
Right.
And everybody in it are the little stores, and then you have anchor stores, which are huge, and we are an anchor store.
Here, Steve says eBay affected price and many of the holy grails of many categories, and they were so much more plentiful than collectors thought, and a lot of things came down in price.
It makes total sense, because when you flood the market,
it's not sought after anymore.
No, and it brings down the price. So, but we're not going to spend the whole hour on eBay, because there are sites you can go to watch those.
Right.
But we're going to talk about other things,
and
more
some things that are more relevant.
More relevant.
Now.
Well, other things that happened in the 90s.
Right, but that are also ironically relevant right now. So,
what are you going to talk about?
I found this rummaging today, and I had to just buy her and take her
Nobody
home.
can see you on this one.
Okay, maybe I'll come.
And they all want to see you,
Let me come right here, and then you guys can see me both at the same time. Okay, so look at this beautiful Polly Pocket, still in its original packaging. I found this today when we were finding some stuff for the show today, and I'm not going to take her out of the bag because I do want to keep her in this. Look at how iconic. I know you guys have seen this before. And speaking of the 90s, Polly Pocket made her first debut, I think it was May 27th, 1990, and this came out in 1994. So this is the original one. And another thing that's really cool right now that's relevant for not only just the 90s, but also for it being 2023 as well, is Barbie.
Yeah.
And the reason why Barbie was so relevant then and she's so relevant now is because...
Barbie's been around for a long time, and I know what you're going to get to. So, you're going to get to what we talked about, right? Okay, so every decade Barbie introduces something, right? So what she's going to talk about is not actually Barbie.
Nope.
But, well, it is now.
Yeah.
Partly. Because Mattel decided, you know what? What are you doing? So, what are you talking about?
So, in 2002, the case was dropped. But speaking of early, 2000s, but the late 90s, so 98, Mattel actually took MCA Records to court, and that featured Aqua's well-known song Barbie Girl, and it went all the way to the U.S. court, and it did get appealed due to copyright issues, but Barbie Girl came out in 1997. Aqua is a Danish-Norwegian band, and the case was dropped in 2002 because Mattel said...
They split it with them, and so they both made money off of it.
They were like, you're already making so much money, and if you're willing to split it with us, why not?
And Barbie didn't have a theme song.
She did not.
No.
But then this became her theme song. And if you have seen the movie, which I have not yet, but I will soon, they actually feature Aqua's Barbie Girl in there, but they made it relevant by featuring Ice Spice and Nicki Minaj.
Right. So some of the other things that were interesting that were relevant then and are relevant today are Pokemon.
They're making a comeback for some reason.
So Pokemon and
Magic
cards all started in the 90s. A lot of people don't realize that. And the 90s Pokemon and the 90s Magic cards can be worth a lot. Now, some of them can be worth 10 cents or whatnot, but some of them can be worth a lot. We recently started carrying both, only due to demand of asking. And so, because we want to move with the times, and part of being in a vintage and antique store is you have to move with the times.
You've heard Jason say it before. We're not just a time warp in the past. We are for the past, present, and the future.
Correct. So, Pokemon cards. We carry a ton of different Pokemon cards. In this lovely little thing in their album. But Pokemon cards. These are all 1996 to...
The original Pikachu cards.
Yep. These are all 1996 to 2002.
Cute.
So they all do fall within the 1996. We do have the 1996. We're down to only one of the Burger King balls.
And you remember these, not the solid gold, but the solid gold Pokemon cards. And if you had older brothers, they would always try to steal them from you because for some reason I always got the cooler ones than my brothers.
I know, and they're hugely, if you watch any of the TikTok shows, if you watch any of those, they literally have shows where they spend $30,000 on a box. And the whole show is them opening the box to see if those rare cards are in there.
They got nothing.
Once those rare cards are identified as not being in that box, then all the rest of the boxes go up in price.
Literally.
It's crazy. And so everybody hunts for the 90s. So the 90s Pokemon cards started around 95, 96. And so come in and take a look. We do have those. And they're as relevant then as they are today.
And I love that.
And a lot of people don't realize Magic started in the 90s.
Which is crazy because... I feel like that kind of really put in the foot in the door for things like League of Legends and...
So Magic more so than... it's so funny because everything is derived from something else. So Magic cards is the same customer as Dungeons and Dragons.
And wow.
From the 80s. So in the 80s you had Dungeons and Dragons. In the 90s you had Magic. In the 2000s you had Magic. And now you have big time Magic.
Oh, for sure.
And then the Pokemon cards were all mixed in there too. And for somebody like me who never played any of these cards, upon researching them, Magic and Pokemon are the same colors.
Honestly.
Just different names.
And it's like you can honestly...
Same hierarchy. It's hilarious.
You could put Yu-Gi-Oh! In that same thing as well.
Is Yu-Gi-Oh! 90s?
Yes, I think.
Oh, by the way, I am wearing 1994 Batman.
Iconic. I love that.
This is the 1994 Batman movie. And as you can see, isn't that cool? I love it. But this is my favorite part. Because I got to tell you, the 1994 Batman movie, what does that say?
The bat, the cat, the penguin.
Which are words from Prince's The Bat Dance. Which is one of my favorite Prince songs is The Bat Dance. He did the soundtrack to Batman. Mm-hmm. Do you remember the song?
Vaguely.
It's a dance song. It's so outside of Prince's.
Right. I think that's why I like barely kind of listen to it.
And then corgis. I'm wearing corgi shorts.
And I love that.
Isn't that cool? Can you guys see them? No, you can't see them. I don't know if you're going to be able to see them at all.
They're fire, to be honest.
So there's name brands. What is the biggest name brand of the 90s? What introduced streetwear?
FUBU.
FUBU.
Believe it or not. And FUBU was like the number one, like, biggest brand for streetwear. They literally put the foot in the door for Champion, K-Swiss, Coogee was one of them. Yeah. But if you are my age, because I'm 24, and if any of our viewers are around the same age, you will remember our parents used to dress up in K-Swiss, FUBU, and Champion, and I used to go to school, and everyone used to make fun of me because those brands were sold at Walmart for $4 to $12.
They're hot now.
And now they're popping. And
we carry all of them.
And it just kills me because everyone used to make fun of me because my mom put me in K-Swiss, but now your mom and your grandma are wearing K-Swisses.
I know, isn't that hilarious?
And it's crazy to me that back in the day, my mom paid $24 for a pair of shoes. Now they're like $100.
Right. And, windbreakers were huge. All the bright colored windbreakers.
The metallic, the color shift.
Yep.
And this is from the Salty Dog, too.
Yes, which is pretty cool. We carry all of these, so you'll have to come in and take a look. Another thing that with clothing that I thought was interesting was we've been being asked for a lot of guests and stuff, but not real guests. So what a lot of people are liking right now, they go from the embroidered NASCAR stuff like that, or the bright colors like that. They want off-market. They want off-market guests from the 80s or from the 90s. Off-market. Those things go for a ton of money.
And also another weird thing too, speaking of clothings, is someone like 2 weeks ago asked if we had any, like, I don't think it was Guess, but it was a specific name brand that is from the outlet.
Okay.
And the only reason I even know that we would even carry something like that is because when you went to shopping at Guess Outlet, you're getting something that's 2 to 3 seasons behind of what their current is, but for some reason that's always the most popular. So we do carry a lot of Champion, a lot of FUBU. We also do have a lot of Guess. Streetwear is my favorite, so I try to clean it up and update it as much as possible when they give us clothes. So yeah, let us know if you need any streetwear.
So let's talk about this here. These are 1994. These are the
Looney Tune babies.
Looney Tune babies. They are the Lovables, the Looney Tunes. Looney Tunes in the 90s. I collected Looney Tunes in the 90s. Looney Tunes had a explosion in the 90s. And everything was Tweety Bird. Everything was, and I had it all. Sylvester, Tweety Bird. And so Looney Tunes has made a huge comeback.
Oh, for sure.
So,
Space Jam.
Yep, Space Jams, which I have right... Where'd it go?
Do you remember when you'd stay
right here
sick from school? Ah, love him.
Yes. Space Jams. And this is not from the Space Jams that just happened.
No, this is an older one.
This is from the 90s Space Jam. Yep. And it's actually 1996.
Wow.
Warner Brothers. And I love it when we find stuff like this. I love it when we find stuff like this because nobody opened it.
This is what's getting me right here is the fact that you could literally collect
all of
the
them.
whole crew. Like, that's awesome.
And you know what? A lot of people said that it was this movie that brought Looney Tunes to the forefront again.
Oh, absolutely.
And it absolutely was.
It made it relevant.
And I'm going to tell you, I wasn't the hugest fan of the new one because it was opposite, meaning that it was all done in Looney Tunes.
CG.
Yeah. So, but it was good. It was good. So, this would be, this is the reason why Looney Tunes went nuts. Did we just stop getting on? What is that all about?
The 5?
Yeah.
I know you guys are lame today.
So, you know what? We get a lot of older viewers. So, and when I say older viewers, I mean like 30 and up.
Yeah.
And the 90s to them.
It's
and
like
yes, okay, I'm going to tell you the 90s is vintage. It's over 20 years ago. Actually, 2003 is vintage. But what is some of the other stuff? So, Backstreet Boys.
Fun fact about the Backstreet Boys, they got their name because they all used to meet up and sing in a back alley street that was
Which was a
actually
flea market.
Yeah, which is literally a free market.
It was a flea market.
And it was called Backstreet Market, and that's where they got their name
So,
from.
tell us about NSYNC, because that's the 90s.
So, NSYNC, listen to this, you guys. Justin Timberlake's mom one day was kind of making everybody dinner and said, I kind of have a good name for your guys' band. Took the first letter of each member's last name, you got NSYNC.
Yep. Now, something that she did not know about that I told her about is those of you who are on, and give us some hearts if you get them, those of you who are on here, tell me if you remember the Mickey Mouse Club.
Not Mickey Mouse Clubhouse.
Nope, the Mickey Mouse Club. Anyone? Nobody remembers the Mickey Mouse Club. Okay, so in 1996, or was it 96? I have it down here. It seems like it would have been earlier than that. 94 maybe. Do you see it?
Oh my gosh.
Oh, 93. So in 1993...
Oh, we got a yep.
Yep. So, okay, good. So in 1993, the 16th year of... The 16th season of the Mickey Mouse Club came out. It was also either their last or their second to the last season before it went animation. And there were four people who came from that. One of them has to do with NSYNC. Okay, and she did not know this, but Britney Spears, Justin Timberlake, and they dated.
That's crazy.
Yep. Britney Spears, Justin Timberlake, Christina Aguilera, and Ken himself, Ryan Gosling.
Oh.
All were in the 16th season of
Mickey Mouse Club.
And NSYNC, that helped him grab the spot in NSYNC.
Which is crazy.
And that shot her to stardom. Both her and Christina Aguilera.
Kind of like got her into the Stardew of Fame, which is lit.
Yeah, they were all, and I believe that Britney and Justin were dating in the Mickey Mouse Club, and then when they first started, they dated for a while.
Fun fact about Ken: they're getting paid $12.5 million for their roles in the Barbie movie, but originally Ryan Gosling passed on it because he was so busy. Came back to the producer when he freed it up and said, "I guess I'll take it."
Yes, he did pass on it. One of the reasons he came back is Margot Robbie kept on him because she wanted him.
Yeah.
We do get vintage Eminem stuff, and I'm assuming you're talking about the singer. We do. We have posters over there now.
We sold them all.
Did we sell them?
Yeah.
Okay, so we do pick them up when we can come across them.
And speaking of Eminem, did you know that in 1999, Still Dre by Dr. Dre featuring Eminem was on the top charts?
Yeah. Oh yeah, so in the 90s, what I did for a living is I ran warehouse music.
Which is so lit.
And I had San Francisco. And so I had the Sutter and Kearney store. And in the 90s, I got to meet Christy Hines.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Oh, my God.
You said she was just walking down the street.
She was at 6 o'clock in the morning. She looked like she was doing the walk of shame.
Shame, yes.
It was hilarious. And she was walking down, and I'm like, who is this woman? After I had to get the homeless out of my front door.
LOL, yes,
It's
I
sad
remember
to
you were
say.
telling me that.
But, and this woman comes walking down the hill, and as she's getting closer, I'm like, God, I recognize her. But she looked like she was, she's tired.
Yeah.
And
she
had
carried
had
a
it.
purse or shoes.
And literally, she walks up, and I looked at her, and I go, you're Chrissy Hines. And she stopped, and she looked at me, she goes, yes. And all I did was just
hug her.
And started and hugged her. She probably thought I was a crazy person.
But then when she seen you walk into the music store, she probably was like, oh, okay.
Well, I hope. Because trust me, I love her. So one of the things that we're going to talk about too a little bit is things that you didn't know came from the 90s, like that right there. And David, if you're watching, you probably knew this.
Which I'm so confused. I just sent it to him. I'm like, you're lame today. Where you at?
1997, The Sorcerer's Stone was released.
Which honestly, this is such a beautiful cover.
Mm-hmm.
I love that.
So Harry Potter started in the 90s, and it became what it is today.
And
right?
we have so many Harry Potter things that are kind of hidden around right now in the
Yeah.
toy section. We have Harry Potter silly bands,
the wands,
board games, books.
Mm-hmm. We try to look for stuff from the 90s, early 2000s to keep in the store rather than the new stuff.
Yeah.
But Harry Potter sells, I'm telling you.
It does, for sure.
What are you going to show that? The High Times?
How to grow pot for pennies.
Yeah. And who can tell me about her right here?
She's pretty.
Okay, so this is Shannon Doherty. She was a 90s chick. Meaning that, yes, she was famous in the 80s with Heathers. But in 1991, a certain show started called 90210 that featured her. And by the way, it spun off one of my favorite series in the whole world, Melrose Place. Okay. Who knows Come on. Was not Melrose Place the best, you guys?
You guys said it at the same time, Lisa. You're right.
What?
90210?
Yeah. 90210 was great. I loved it. But Melrose Place, because I was in my 20s in the 90s, it connected with me. Because I was in my 20s and it was a bunch of 20s.
Yeah.
I was not connecting to high schoolers.
Right.
At that point. And so Melrose Place was fantastic, which then spun off Models Inc. and One Tree Hill and all this type of stuff.
Oh, my mom just popped on. It's cool. She can say some 90s stuff.
So, 90s and TV. What is one of the biggest shows that you know started in the 90s?
I don't know any big shows, but I know movies.
No, you know a big show. You know two big shows. One of them you really like.
Oh, really? It came out in the 90s? I didn't know that.
So, this is one of them.
Which, this is such a cute poster, even if you're not a Friends person.
So, look, she even has her original nose. So, anyways, Friends came out in 1991.
And I love this poster, even if you're not a Friends person.
So,
this is sick.
Friends came out in 1991, so we do carry some of the early Friends stuff like that and the coffee mugs.
Lisa
and stuff.
said Magnum PI.
Magnum PI came out in the 70s, Lisa. So, another show that you like a lot.
Seinfeld?
Is that 90s? That was 90s.
Was it?
It went into the 90s a little bit.
Yeah.
Frasier.
Oh, I love Frasier.
So Frasier also started in 1991.
I totally forgot about that.
In 1993. Which, by the way, there's another one starting, so that's good. So we did all of those. What else are we talking about? eBay. Oh, I wanted to grab a sheep because Dolly was born.
Oh, yeah.
Do you guys know who Dolly is? Before we say anything on here, let's see. Can anybody tell me who Dolly is? She is a sheep, but why is she important? Who can tell me that? In 1995, Dolly was born. Mm-hmm. The sheep.
Sorry, I'm switching back and forth.
To see if anybody knows.
Mm-hmm.
I love Niles. I did too. So Dolly was the very first. Ooh, somebody wrote something. Was the very first clone. Somebody's writing stuff up there. It's just not showing up on us. What is that stuff?
Oh, okay. Wow, it is kind of something long. Sorry, guys. I'm going to be right up in your space. Oh, we do have Playgirl magazines, but
We do.
do not know exactly which ones we have offhand, so unfortunately that is something you're going to have to come in and look for.
Or we can, I mean,
Yeah.
there's a bunch, there's a few over there. Why isn't that coming up on yours?
And we do still have Animal Bones, and we do have those in our oddity section.
Yep.
And we do get those pretty often, so don't ever hesitate to call and ask because we can tell you what we have on hand.
Yeah, and if you go back and you look at some of our shows, we did a whole oddities show. You can take a look.
Like 2 weeks ago.
So the what was I going to say? Oh, see,
They said I don't know who Dolly is.
Okay, so Dolly was the very first clone.
Sheep.
Breathing animal person, whatever.
Which is crazy.
The very first. So in 1995, they cloned a sheep identically.
And how do you think that went?
Well, it went fine because Dolly lived for quite some time. But, yeah, she was cloned.
And honestly, that's super crazy. I wonder how they use that. What, stem cells?
Stem cells. Which, by the way, stem cells also what became a thing
Oh,
in
yeah?
the 90s. So the 90s was big on medical advancements as well. But one of the things I want to talk about is Furbies. And I did have Furbies, but they sold, apparently, which is good. But let's talk about the
opposite side of Furbies that you probably didn't know.
Furbies became huge. Everybody had them.
But why was there such a large rise and fall of Furbies?
Well, Furbies was...
Not just because they're ugly.
No. But Furby was the first thing that talked to you. Mm-hmm. Okay, so it responded. So it was like a parrot.
Yep.
It repeated what you said, right?
Yep.
So therefore, it was a doll or a toy that could talk. The hilarious thing about it was because it listened to you and repeated what you said. The government found that it might be an issue because people were bringing them to their offices and putting them on their desks, and so they banned them from all workplaces.
I wonder why.
Because they were afraid that the Furby could then listen
and
secret
repeat. Information. Yeah, isn't that crazy? They thought we were trying.
And none of that was true, you guys.
No.
Because you could turn it off.
Yeah, literally. There was an option for you to have it not recorded.
Isn't that hilarious? So an entire toy industry or an entire toy collapsed because of something somebody said.
And just think about the influence that had so
I
quickly.
know.
It was like wildfire.
It's crazy.
Alrighty, so I don't know if you know this, Jason.
What's that?
But did you know, because you have it right here,
Uh-huh.
Nickelodeon ruled Rugrats as being number one. And we do have Mr. Tommy Pickles here.
We do.
We don't have...
What they sold. They bought them all except for Pickles.
We don't have his bestie, but his bestie, Chucky, from the Rugrats, is actually supposed to be the lead singer of Devo, Whip It Good. That's supposed to be him.
Okay, that kills me. I love that. I really do.
And then I also have here that along with Rugrats, this was supposed to be like what he experienced as a little kid. Like that was supposed to be like him, his best friend.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and honestly, I love that because I love Devo.
Yeah, I do too. We saw him a couple years ago.
That's super cool.
So Nickelodeon and ruled the airwaves.
Literally. That Nick at Night became a thing, which was pretty much like when Fran Drescher, the nanny, came out. That was like my grandma's favorite show, even still to this day. She watches it.
That was the 80s.
Was it really?
Yep, that came out in the 80s. It was rerun on Nickelodeon.
Okay, gotcha.
So Nickelodeon was ruled the airwaves because the kids could watch it.
Yes.
Sliming, the slime, the different shows and stuff like that. And that is when sit in front of the TV. Became a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Speaking of your Jordan 1s, I totally forgot to add this. Michael Jordan won 6 NBA titles, and he loved Adidas over Nike so much that when he originally started his contract, he did ask Adidas to match him on his Nike contract. Unfortunately, Adidas said no, but I guarantee you they're probably mad now.
Didn't I have something baseball over here? I thought I grabbed something. Anyways, let's talk about baseball in the 90s, shall we? Okay, let's talk about baseball in the 90s. 1995. Who can tell me what happened to baseball in 1995? You know what? I'm going to start giving out things to people if they actually answer.
Honestly.
Mm-hmm. So, who can tell me what happened to baseball in 1995? Come on. No one?
I also just have to show this box.
Yeah, we're going to show this. But in 1995, in 1994, my mistake, that's probably why you didn't answer. So 1994, if you answer correctly, you're not going to get that, but you might get something. So in 1994, the Players Association went on strike. There was no baseball that year.
And why was that?
Because they were all on strike. Yeah. So how SAG-AFTRA is on strike today, and so the movies aren't being made or stuff. That happens to baseball too. And so we went the entire year of 1994 with no baseball.
And I'm so glad you pulled this out.
Why?
Because if you've been in
and
here
that box is from 1997, I think, in the back.
Yes. Or between like
92.
92. If you know when Jason and I work together, we always talk to our customers about the clothing we have and how we try to instill in our customers that don't be discouraged about the vintage clothing. Times were just different back then. And I'm really glad he brought this out because look how small this ingredient list is. Look how small this ingredient list is. Now it's the size of this box here.
Okay, watch this. How full is this box?
Yeah, it's heavy.
Okay.
The box is literally
and
full
there
to the
is
top.
cereal all the way to the top.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then inside you also get your free team decals, and you get 4 of them per box. And like you could literally send this in and get MLB patches.
Obviously before shrinkflation.
Like, oh my goodness.
Isn't that hilarious? So these are fantastic. And it's got all, and this is Detroit Tigers.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
that's why I love that you brought this out, because look at the side. It says no artificial colors or flavors. And also the amount of little calories you had in one serving,
And
because
I'm going
there's
to tell you,
not.
this was the 90s. So if we go back even further,
It's going to be
it's like
smaller.
this won't even be on here.
Exactly.
Mm-mm. And actually, this might even be a little bit smaller.
This box, okay, I wish we had a relevant one. This box, this is a 1 pound box of cereal. Almost 2 pound box of cereal right now.
But what kills me is that it's actually in there.
And that's what I'm saying, and it's so full. Like, I just can't believe it.
So, some of the other things that we're going to hit as we go by is Austin Powers, of
Where'd you
course. Right here.
Okay.
That was a big one. Austin Powers. We
Love
have the
him.
figures. We talked about that. We talked about that. I'll get to those in a moment. And then, of course, we have Bill and Hillary Clinton. Can't have the 90s without them. And then Spencer's. Talk about Spencer's. All these fun little gadgets were at Spencer's.
And you want to know what's crazy is when I was a manager there for
This
4
is
years,
a salt and pepper shaker.
they
by the way.
didn't carry that anymore.
A lot of this stuff was from the 90s and mid 90s and up, because a lot of things, like for instance, any I Love Lucy stuff, that would have been from the mid 80s up into the 90s. They didn't make this type of stuff back then. So if you have a Lucy cookie jar, it was 90. I could pretty much guess it was 92, 92, 94. And so we carry a lot of them. Look at this little. This is by Hermitage Pottery. It's Loonco Products. Anyways, it's a little ghost, but it's 1994.
I love how basic the packaging is.
Yeah, because they put the 96. They put the money in the pieces. So a lot of that comes from the 90s. Then we have, of course, this guy, Barney, 1992, and the VHS, which we were dealing with DVDs at this point. And but Barney is about to make a big comeback, animation style.
Which is scary.
It is, and I'm glad it's not a big purple and yellow dye. Purple and yellow. Then, of course, we have, Sister Act 2, which, here's a did you know? I'm going to tell you, did you know? Sister Act 2 spawned one of the biggest stars in the world, and I'm not talking about her. I am talking about the lead teenager.
We just gotta say the name of the song. Ready or Not, Here I Come.
Lauryn Hill.
Duh.
Lauryn Hill was the lead female child in this movie. Those of you who don't know her, look her up. She's got a stunning voice. She is the lead singer of the Fugees and also has tons of music out on her own.
Oh yeah, literally.
Enchanted, which was a big animation. Batman. Can you guys even see that?
Yeah, I can.
This is Batman and Robin. And I believe right after the second George Clooney Batman, he actually apologized for ruining the franchise.
LOL, because he was like, my bad.
And then here for you locals, this is 1997. This is at the State Theater, and it's Sponge, the Howling Diablos, Kid Rock, back when Kid Rock was better bang 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 ding, whatever.
You're so funny.
Mud Puppies. So this was right from the State Theater. That would have been on the wall. So it's pretty cool.
It's in
What else is
pristine
in here?
condition, too.
Well, look at that. Sponge. I remember them.
Excuse me.
Kid Rock, and look, Kid Rock's third billing.
And even Metro Times was there too.
Third, doesn't that kill you? He's third billing there.
LOL.
Yeah, I know. The Tootsie Roll was 90s, you said?
Thank you so much. I actually have a fun fact about this. And if you guys are a 90s baby, you will know this. Well, I think they might have started it when Tootsie Pops first came out, but you have to remember this because unfortunately they took it away in the early 2000s. This guy right here. And no, they didn't take it away because he's an Indian or Native American. They took it away because if you remember, if you got a Tootsie Pop that had this guy shooting a star on the wrapper, if you brought it to 7-Eleven, they would give you one free Slurpee every day for the next 7 days. And obviously, that caused an uproar, so they had to take it away. And if you buy a Tootsie Pop to this day, I promise you, you will never find one because I've checked.
So, I never knew that at all. Isn't that funny?
And I love that.
So let's talk about what changed horror as we know it, because horror is having a huge 'It's huge. I mean, when you've got the Terrifier, which is, I'm sorry, torture porn. If you think about it, it is. And it's pulling in hundreds of millions of dollars. And I think Insidious just made the biggest horror film ever released.
Literally.
And Scream 7 or Scream 6, I think, made 100 million. And The Evil Dead made 100 million. So in 1994, and I'm going to tell you guys, here's another little fun fact. We're talking about Scream, of course. In 1996, not 4. 1996, Scream 1 was released. And it changed the face of horror. It gave it comedy.
It did.
And it took all of the preconceived notions about horror and it just put them in a basket and shook them up.
Literally. And said, let's see what we can get out of this.
I had the privilege of going to that preview.
Which is crazy.
Which was fun. But I'm going to tell you about the masks. Let's talk about the masks for a second. The original Scream mask is going for stupid money.
And why?
Because it's Scream. Yeah. So, a Scream mask from 1996, and it will be dated on it, this is not one of them, can go for, Steve, correct me if I'm wrong, thousands of dollars.
Oh, I bet.
Okay, if not even more. And it's highly sought after, and it would have the 1996 on it. Mm-hmm. Then, if you've seen Scream 6, there's a different mask for each movie.
And it's slightly different, not very much so.
They're filming Scream 7 now, and I believe it's called The Final Chapter or something like that. I think it's the end.
Do you feel like that's
I don't know, but it's the end for this.
Sure.
And so, because nothing's ever the end when it comes to horror. I mean, take a look at Saw.
And Jason, because he keeps coming back.
Take a look at...
Final Destination?
No, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. My God, how many times can you do it, people?
But I mean, also Final Destination. Whoever made the first one obviously doesn't know the name Final.
That's hilarious. Because there's like 6 of them.
That's what I'm saying.
I don't know how the next one's coming out because the last one ended at the beginning of the first one.
The first one, which is so
I don't
weird.
know how they're going to do that.
I feel like they're just running out of ideas for this franchise and they want to keep it going. But hey, look, I'm here for it.
So it is the first Scream mask that people are on the hunt for, and it is worth a fortune. And it was, thanks to Wes Craven, who, by the way, did you know that the person who wrote Scream 1 and 2 and 3 also wrote... One Tree Hill. But he wrote Scream first.
Which is crazy.
And then he tried his hand with TV.
Do you think he, went through a bad breakup and was like, let me just write something really sad and emotional?
I don't know. And then, of course, so another big breakthrough was car phone, right? Mm-hmm. So, and we actually have some, believe it or not. Now, I don't have the big brick car phones, but these ones are probably going to be late 90s. Yeah, this one's late 90s. And, it's sealed shut. But look at all of this. So, it's a Nokia, and owner's manual and everything.
I love that.
So, this actually has it goes into the cigarette lighter. Yeah, and do you know, it's hilarious because back in the 80s, people would buy fake phones and just pretend to be talking on it.
What?
They would they not?
So, Mr. Jason.
Yes.
If you could try this glove on for me, please.
I don't know if it's going to fit.
Let's see.
So if it doesn't, it doesn't fit. So what happens? If
You're
it
guilty.
doesn't fit, you must quit. How many of you know what that's from?
Come on.
Come on, you guys. What's that from? So,
I love that so much.
The hottie. Oh, I know you love him. Skeet Ulrich.
Wasn't there a thing in here
if
for
it
that?
doesn't fit, you must quit. Now, if you are a Kardashian fan, you should know what I'm talking about.
Right.
Okay, so where were you when O.J. Simpson was driving down the road in the white Bronco?
Lisa, you're so funny. I just love the O.J. Love that.
I was living in California, in Marin County, San Francisco, and I remember sitting at the pizza place and watching that. And I had friends who lived in L.A. who actually watched him do it.
That's crazy.
They were lined up. If you guys have seen it, during this slow motion drive that O.J. Simpson, O.J. Simpson was laying down in the back seat. So it was somebody else who was driving in the white Bronco, and they went for miles, going like 30 miles an hour. So like some stupid slow miles. But people lined the bridges over the freeway with signs, "We're with you, OJ. We're with you, OJ." And this was because he was a suspect in the death of his wife, and her current boyfriend.
Wow.
Ron, which I don't even know if he was her boyfriend. I think he was just a good friend of hers. So, and when I say the Kardashians, those of you who don't know, the Kardashians came into play because
Of OJ.
of OJ. OJ's lawyer was Kris Kardashian's husband.
Yeah.
And I forgot his first name.
Ron.
And Ron Kardashian. And Ron Kardashian is the father of all the girls except for the last two. Well, we think. And so,
Can I tell him your conspiracy?
And so, I have a conspiracy theory about that. But I don't want to say it live because knowing Kris Kardashian, she'll be over here slapping me around. Or slapping me with a lawsuit. So, anyways,
you were in CPR class, Lisa. I love that for you, honestly.
were you really during the OJ thing? That's hilarious. So, anyways, he ended up going back. He ended up not being charged with it. And then he got civilly sued and lost everything. But, and then sued again when he tried to make money off of it. And then Kris Kardashian's husband died. And Ron Kardashian died. And then she met Bruce Jenner and had two more girls. Mm-hmm. And then he became one.
Yep, literally.
So, anyways, that was a big thing. OJ, that trial was
And it was days long, too.
I know. So, Pogo, 1990s.
Which this is for sale. We do have this up at the front.
And the reason we put it up front, believe it or not, and you probably will believe it, isn't due to kids. It's due to stupid adults who decide that they want to get on it and jump around and don't realize that once you reach a certain age, you don't bounce back up.
We also have a cricket that's hanging out in the oddity section, and I swear he was not. You can't hear him. He was just talking. You hear him chirping it up?
Oh, yeah, I'd probably block it out. So this is a limited edition. This is from the 90s.
Wow.
It's actually 1998. So, I'm sorry, 1995. So this is 1995 NASCAR. And
That's
it's number
awesome.
3.
That's lit.
It's number 3, Dale Earnhardt.
Oh, wow.
So, and the fact that I know anything about NASCAR just
blows my mind, honestly.
It blows my mind, too, that I would even give the time. But, in this world, you have to know a little bit about everything.
Everything, yeah.
And so we have a bunch of these, and we have a bunch of models. And the models go from the 90s all the way back. So you'll have to come in. Because trust me, we could have this show on the 90s.
Forever.
Because some of the stuff is, Google came into
play, for sure.
Changed the way that we searched for things.
We've got the beautiful Alanis Morissette.
Okay, so I went and saw her.
Jealous.
I went and saw her during the release of that concert. And I'm going to tell you one of the things that she said. And this wasn't at the concert. This was because I was working in the music industry and they would put out different, PSAs from the stars.
Sure.
She said that she has a hard time. One of the reasons that you have not seen a lot of albums from her is because she couldn't succeed this album.
Dang.
Because this album made her so much money and almost every song on it was a number one that it was very hard for her to outdo
that for sure.
And that's what happens when you deal with a lot of one-hit wonders, which happened in the 90s.
She set the bar too high for herself.
She did. But she stayed around because she started doing movies and stuff like that. But then you have one-hit wonders from the 90s, like Voice of the Beehive, one of my favorite bands, one-hit wonder from the 90s. Then you have Paula Cole, Where Have All the Cowboys Gone? One of the biggest songs in the 90s. That's all she sang. Joan Osborne. I'm saying names, she's looking at me like, ooh. Joan Osborne sang Heaven. Somebody help me. What Would God Say?
What did you say?
What Would God Say?
Is that the song name?
I don't know if that's the name.
Who sings What Would God Say?
I found this on the web.
It doesn't even tell me, honestly.
Joan Osborne.
Joan Osborne.
Here's some information.
One of Us.
One of Us. That's the name of the song.
That's the name of the album, yeah.
That's the name. Well, it's also the name of the song. And it has those lyrics in it, and it was one of the biggest hits in the world. Sarah McLachlan.
Oh.
Huge in the 90s. Meatloaf. Huge in the 90s.
Love Meatloaf.
Duran was good in the 90s. They were huge in the 80s, good in the 90s. Well, they did come undone, and they did a couple of Everything But the Girl, about to make a big comeback, and Butthole Surfers. So these are all from the 90s, and I know that 100% because these are from the music store I worked at in the 90s.
Which is beautiful.
And then you have the stars that that moved from decade to decade seamlessly, like Madonna. And between her 1980s Holiday and Lucky Star, she did Express Yourself in the 90s and made her a superstar.
Which is crazy. Look how pretty she looks there.
So that's during her Evita time when she did Evita. And so she's not the only one, because you also have like the Rolling Stones. The Rolling Stones, by the 90s, when they were hitting number ones in the 90s, had already been around for 3 decades.
Mick Jagger was going crazy.
Yeah. And Janet Jackson.
Love her.
Janet Jackson's huge with Rhythm Nation in the 80s.
Yes.
And then came out with a bunch of slower albums in the 90s that were huge.
Doesn't Matter, which actually is a secret music video that's hidden on the butt end of the Nutty Professor VHS tape.
Here's a did you know. So who loves Pulp Fiction? One of the 90 movies that were fantastic. So Pulp Fiction, the
Quentin
artist,
Tarantino.
or Quentin Tarantino, but Mia, who played,
Kill Bill, Uma Thurman.
Uma Thurman played. And so she was not the original person for it. They wanted Julia Louis-Dreyfus to play Mia in. So this is probably one of the best switches.
Yeah.
Because she went and did something else while
Uma Thurman came
and kicked butt.
Yeah, literally.
So that is an interesting one. And then, of course, you had the rise of hardcore techno. Started in the late 80s, came into the 90s, and then you had bands like Marilyn Manson started to become huge. The KMFDM, the My Life with Thrill Kill Call, Skinny Puppy, those types of bands. Prince was still going big from the 80s. I mean, the Bat Dance.
Do you remember when Marilyn Manson set his drummer on fire, and right after that he went on an interview and they asked him why, and he looked at the camera and said, well, he told me he was cold.
One of the biggest female bands of all times showed up in the 90s.
Oh, yeah, duh.
Spice Girls.
I'll tell you what I want, what I really, really want.
Yep. Spice Girls. And we have some of the Spice Girl material.
Oh my God,
No
No
Doubt.
Doubt. One of my favorite bands right now,
Okay,
to
so
this day.
No Doubt, very first album, 1992.
Love that.
Now Nirvana, we lost Kurt Cobain, and we lost Nirvana. I had the pleasure of seeing Smells Like Teen Spirit.
Iconic.
That's what we're wearing around our necks are the passes from the shows I went to. Here's 1997 Pop. These are available here. Depeche Mode, along with the pass, the All Access Pass. VIP for Cucumber Zoo, signed.
Love that.
So these are all actual passes I wore, and you will be able to purchase them here.
And they're all hanging up in our oddity section,
Yes,
too.
over in the music section, kind of.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And so there's a lot about the 90s that I really don't want to admit is vintage. Wow, we're losing people. We only have one on. That's unusual.
We have 2 on here, but we've also overall had a bunch. You see
Oh,
16,
yeah.
16, 16.
So, and more people will come to watch. I just want somebody looking at me at all times.
They're like seeing that it's like coming up to our last few minutes, and they're like, all right.
So there's a lot. We have a lot of 90s stuff here because in a world where you're dealing with vintage does not stand still.
No, it doesn't.
And when we move in time, so does vintage move in time.
Absolutely.
And, a lot of people said, why are you selling 90s? Why are you selling thousands? Well, you got to remember, the people who were little in the 90s and were told they can't have something, they're now adults who are working and have their own money.
And that's why
so they want to buy back their childhood. The number one thing humans do is want to revisit the happy times in their lives.
It's the nostalgic feel.
And so you have to move forward in order for them to go backwards. Oh, I like that.
And I honestly really, we should name that the next title of our video.
Yeah. Because boys never grow up. They always want the toys back. And girls, they may grow up, but they still have nostalgia.
Of course.
And it may not be for everything like boys do, but they have this specific things. And hence the reason why there are more girls things than boys things still around. You got Annie Lennox went solo in the 90s.
And this is a beautiful album cover. I love her for this.
And 90210, that is the school set, so that you could put your pencils in it. It's got the little ruler, and up here we have
a little notebook.
A little notebook with what's his name on the cover.
I just love Whoopi's mischievous smile right here. Fun fact about Whoopi Goldberg, she has never to this day had a pair of eyebrows. I want you to look up a young picture of Whoopi Goldberg and tell me if she has eyebrows, because I promise you, she doesn't.
So another little fun fact about Sister Act, part 3 is coming out.
And I'm so excited.
I am too. And it's got her, it's got the original cast in it, and it's got Bette Midler playing Mother Teresa.
Which is going to be so crazy because
I'm
Bette
excited
Midler
about
just
that.
seems to like...
She's my favorite.
She's keeping it going though.
So as you can see, we got a tons of 90s stuff as well as every decade. So please, please, please come in, take a look. And we're so thankful that you guys follow us.
Honestly, yeah, we're super grateful today. Excuse me, it was one of my favorite shows. I could relate a lot to this, and we just have so much stuff that you guys just have to come in and see in with your own 2 eyes, because we can only fit so much in 60 minutes.
And you know what? We will come up with something, so when we ask questions, you guys will answer.
Honestly, yeah, like...
Maybe we'll come up with, you get a $5 or $10 gift card in the store,
Or every time you answer a question right, you'll get 1 additional percentage off. So, like, instead of being 20%, 21.
She's hitting the money part of it. We could do something like that. I don't know. We'll talk and
we'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out. Even if it's something small, maybe from that decade.
That honestly sounds really fun.
You know what I mean? But not all of our shows are decades, so it might be from that show.
Sure.
So, it could be one of these. It could be, anything. So, thank you guys.
Thanks for being here with us this Tuesday. And what's our topic next week?
I don't know yet. We'll pull it out and see.
Okay,
Because
yeah.
we can't go into the 2000s, because the 2000s is really a makeup of all decades.
Honestly.
So we could go backwards, but you know what? We will figure it out, and we will put it on here what we're going to be doing next week for the show. If you guys have any suggestions, please let us know. The only reason if we respond with we can't do it right now, is because I don't have product. Like, somebody keeps asking for robots.
And my mom keeps asking for Elvis.
And Elvis we can do a little bit on. I don't have a lot. It comes and goes quick, but we can do that era and talk about Elvis with
and
it.
stuff. Okay.
Maybe we'll pull out the
Graceland?
Yeah, Graceland. So
come on in
robots
and
I
see us,
don't
yeah.
have right now, and when we get them, I'll do the show. But
come on in and check it out what we
you
got.
want- If you want to talk about anything, let us know.
Yeah,
Give us
literally,
the
let
idea.
us know in the comments. But before we let you guys go, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe.
Yep.
We're still active on Threads right now. So
And
make sure you guys...
TikTok.
TikTok is one of our biggest right now. We're really trying to get more followers just so we can try to go live on there. I haven't checked what our followers count is, but...
It's 700 and something, and I haven't, and I'm not going to lie to you, I haven't been exactly active on it
Sure.
because of all the different social medias. I do have other things I got to do. It's becoming difficult.
No, yeah.
But I can, piggyback.
Not gonna lie, Jason wasn't active on Facebook for like a full 24 hours, and I needed to text him because that was like not usual. Like usually the first thing I see when I open Facebook is him, and when I didn't see him, I needed to call and make sure he was
She
okay.
did, actually. And I appreciate that. So anyways, remember, think about what you want to talk about.
Yeah, let us know for real, because
We can do a how-to show too. Maybe we'll do a how-to show next.
that honestly sounds kind of cool.
Maybe we'll talk about how to clean something.
Records, maybe?
Not records, only because that is a personal
Sure.
thing.
Sure.
There's different ways you can clean records. There's different ways you can process those. And some people love things, so there's multiple ways of doing that.
Sure.
So maybe we do something a little bit more general, like, how to clean fabric.
Okay.
Or how to get smells out of paper.
Or just how to store vintage clothing.
How to store vintage clothing. How to care for your jewelry. Stuff like that. So we have a lot of ideas to talk about. And I know you do. Lisa and I went and saw Meatloaf in concert.
That's honestly so sick. I was so sad when he passed away.
Do you remember when we went and seen him, Lisa? We had so much fun that night. So anyways, thank you guys. Now we're going to have to come around to turn off.
And we'll catch you next Tuesday.
Yep.